Bringing in Bill Singer. He is a securities lawyer and a partner at Stark & Stark. Bill, I want to ask you this question. Based on what you've read in the Journal, and this is only a report in the newspaper right now, what can you divine about Morgan Stanley's role and what, if anything, the Justice Department might be going after here?
It seems to me that we sort of have a rerun at this point of the auction rate securities cases where perhaps the Department of Justice isn't so much just focusing on Morgan Stanley as it's attempting to send yet another message to Wall Street that it's going to be opening up many fronts on what's now becoming an ongoing CDO investigation.
Bill, you know, the details are pretty scant at the moment, but based on what I read in that Journal story, it kind of sounds like Morgan Stanley may have been the John Paulson in these deals, being the short side of the CDO transactions or the synthetic CDOs that required some long players on the other side, people who wanted to bet on the housing market. So far as we understand, John Paulson, at least according to the SEC's Robert Khuzami, didn't do anything wrong. Why should we assume at all that Morgan Stanley did anything wrong?
Well, I don't think we can. And, Eric, I think you really picked up on a point that many lawyers picked up on these rumors, which is that purportedly there's been a great deal made that Morgan Stanley did not necessarily market the dead presidents to investors. And as such, Khuzami and Preet Bharara and others seem to be focusing again on this Paulson-like relationship of whether they created a product which they then bet against.
But, Bill, let's talk about one other thing. You know, journalists and their sources operate in ways that we're all becoming familiar with. We certainly know how it works here, and I know you know how it works. How risky is it for people, presumably at the Justice Department or close to the investigation, to be providing this information at a time when we don't really have a whole lot of evidence about Morgan Stanley, and investors, as we know, are very much in a shoot first, ask questions later kind of mode?
Well, Eric, having been on Wall Street for nearly 3 decades, this is the dirty little underbelly of the way these prosecutions work. And there's nothing new here. There's always been leaks. The press has been used to help fight cases. Insiders at Justice or even at a district attorney will often leak information to build a case. So there's nothing new here. The danger, however, is that if Preet Bharara's office at Southern District can't deliver and can't win this case should it go to trial, then we would add this to the Chaffee and Taneen loss, which would be a second major black eye in the CDO prosecutions. So this is a very interesting developing story. It's filled with rumor and innuendo, but as you suspect and I suspect and others, there's probably a very serious investigation ongoing, and we're just going to have to wait for the games to stop to see what the facts are.
Bill, great perspective. That's Bill Singer from Stark & Stark, pointing out that, yes, in addition to Morgan Stanley, there's a lot at stake for federal prosecutors as well.